It's good morning. Thank you. For some people, it's good morning. So for some people, it's good afternoon. So uh, I have people from different parts of the world on this course, and it's great to have everybody here. I started this session yesterday, and I'm continuing today. So once again, it's great to have everybody here. So if you go to the chat room, if today is your first day, please just let me know in the chat room. I know a decent number of people are here today and they were here yesterday. So please, yes, we'll share. We haven't put them up, or we'll share them. So that's why we keep insisting that people should fill the attendance form, right? That's why we keep insisting that people should fill the attendance form. So they're going to share the attendance form in a minute. And so please, and they'll share it different times during the entire training session. So what we will do is we will, once we put them up on YouTube, we're going to put the session up on YouTube and then we will share the link. So it's not a problem at all. It's not a secret. I mean, it's not an issue at all in here. So definitely some people are new here. That means they were not here yesterday. So, but I want everybody to tell me. So is either you're new or you're old. So everybody, can you please give me a response? Um, okay, good. Sarisha, thank you very much for being here. Okay, Oscar, this is your first day. Mr. Hammond, you didn't get the opportunity to be here yesterday. Nasambu, this is also your first day. Edgar, this is your first day. Right. So others, please, can I get a response from everybody? Is that this is day 2 or day 1 for you, right? Is either this is day 2 or day 1 uh, for you. So everybody. So I will try to go through some of the things that we did yesterday, but it will pretty much be impossible for me to talk about everything. But since the recording is going to be available, I will make the recording available to everybody. So we'll share with you at some point in time. So it's not a problem at all. But Balaji first day, Abosede first day, Musa first day, Simon day 2. Brilliant. Eldred. So Simon, Eldred, uh, as it is, Mishak, Christ, Risha, thank you. Mishak day 2. Kevin's day 2. Yes, Sean, I saw you yesterday. Taiwo, it's day 2. Great, great, great. Victor, it's day 2. Tess, it's day 2. Affairs is day 1. Wairimo, day 1. No, yeah, I think right now, as at this particular moment, I think I have more day 1 people than even day 2. So I don't know because there were loads of people here yesterday. There were about almost 70 people here yesterday. So maybe they've gotten enough. Maybe it wasn't interesting enough for them. It could have been. It can be anything because it can be anything really. So, but it doesn't matter. Uh, it's great to have everybody here. I'll do my best. To try to ensure that this is interesting and it is worth your time. We're only here for the next 2 hours, so I'll try to do this very quickly as it is. So, but once again, thank you very much for being here, everyone. I will like to get on with my class for today. I'm seated in Nairobi, so everybody that is in Nairobi, Can I hear you say hello to me in Swahili in the chat room because the original, um, please tell me Karibu or something in the chat room. The original intention for this session was meant to be for the people who are seated, who are in Nairobi. So if you're in Nairobi, Please let me know in the chat room. Please let me know. Alright. You can greet me in whatever. You can greet me in English. You can greet me good, good, good. Jumbo, thank you, Arimo. Thank you, Edgar. Thank you. Aha. So I think on Friday, we're having drinks. So I'm hoping that I will be able to. Thank you very much, Nasambo, right? I'm hoping I'll be able to sit with some of you as it is. We'll be having drinks on, I think we'll meet at Sarit or something on Friday. Thank you, Simon. On Friday, and it should be interesting as it is. So we'll all just have drinks on Friday after the whole week, and we're probably going to be doing something every quarter. So I think every quarter we're going to be doing something similar. I have a lot of requests from organizations around here to do something like this every quarter. So every quarter, we're just going to hold some sessions and just expand on some of the things we're doing. So we're going to definitely do that every quarter. So once again, it's great to have everybody here. Let me jump into the work for today. I did a lot of that introduction. I did a lot of the conversations yesterday. So today, I just want to get 27001. I want to get it over and done with as it is. And because tomorrow, I would like to focus on the cybersecurity and, make clear differentiation between what exactly is information security. Yesterday when we started the session, some people were saying that, oh, I was asking a question yesterday when I said, which is the subset of the other. I was asking a question yesterday when I was saying that which is a subset of the other, as it is. And uh, different people give different thoughts, they give different ideas, different people said different things, but in reality, I had to go that, well, the cybersecurity is a subset of information security. uh, Cybersecurity is definitely a subset uh, of information security, and that's big. Yeah, so I made those kinds of clarifications yesterday. I also said things like, I've got some of my senior friends like Sirisha and a couple of other people who they probably have 2 decades plus of information security and cybersecurity working in different parts of the world. Some of them are on this call, so we have different people here. Some people here are students. Some people have a decade of experience. Some people have 2 decades plus of qualitative experience when it comes to information security and cybersecurity. So they can say what I'm saying is wrong. Everybody, the chat room is free, right? So you can agree, you can disagree, however it is that works for you. I'm not the god of cybersecurity. I'll just share my thoughts and my opinion. One of the things I also said yesterday is, you know, education is good. Education, qualifications, and all those kinds of things that people are always running after and pushing for. They're very good things. But I think even beyond that is for you to really have expertise. And I don't think you're going to get anywhere if you don't have the right expertise. And I think that's very important. You're definitely not getting anywhere if you don't have the right expertise. So you need to realize that, in all, it's almost like when we say in all you're getting, ensure that you also get, in all you're getting, ensure that you get the right expertise and skill sets. Don't focus just on what's that thing that people do. They like to focus on purely on they like to focus purely on the qualifications, and because a lot of us are Africans, we really like qualifications. Africans love qualifications, but your work has got to go beyond qualifications. You've got to think beyond qualifications. Qualifications alone will not give your organization the concept that I've called counter fragility. Everybody, so you can see that I put something in there called counter fragility. Just having qualifications will not give your organization that. And your organization needs to have all these types of characteristics. Your organization needs to have every kind of characteristic that I put out here, from being strong to being resilient, being effective, being efficient, being adaptable, and being proactive. Your organization definitely, by every means possible, needs to have these kinds of characteristics. So you can't just focus on just qualifications. Qualifications are great, but that's not all you're going to need to have if you plan to be great when it comes to cybersecurity. And as I said, I've got people that are on the call that they know these things maybe even better than I do, and they can also share their thoughts in the chat room and things like that. Same thing when it comes to experience and exposure. It's good that you have the right experience. It's good, but you also need exposure. You need the exposure that allows you to be able to do things in different markets and see how people are doing things in different locations and different organizations globally. You can't just say that the way the way this is all that exists. Sometimes I speak to organizations and I tell them, sometimes when people are arguing with me or one thing or the other, I find it to be very interesting because I've got about 100 clients that I work with, the team, not just me as a person, but the entire team that we work with around this work every year. So we see different things. We see different organizations. We see different approaches. We see different things. So when people sometimes they tell me that, oh, they don't agree, I'm like, yeah, you might not agree, but I mean, I see many more things. I'm way more exposed than even people who are more experienced than I am, and I hope you understand the difference, right? So because I see different organizations, I see one client that has all its workload on Google Cloud. I see another client that's got all its workload on AWS. I see another client that has got all its workload on Azure. I see different clients that use different types of SIM as it is. So I'll see Axite today. Tomorrow I'm going to see something that is open source. Another time I'm going to see or review Azure Sentinel. So I mean, the work that I do exposes me to a lot of things. And so it's also important that all of us, we get experience and we also get exposure. I covered this yesterday. I'm not even going to try to do this again today. Otherwise, it's going to take my time and it's going to distract me from what I want to do and what I want to achieve today. So if I get the chance, I'll come back here. But yesterday, I must have spent, I think I spent about 30, 40 minutes just, drilling down into this. What does each of these clauses, what do they mean? And what is the interpretation and why? There are 23 sub clauses that are here, and everything here is mandatory. Everything here is mandatory. And if I was auditing your organization to see if you put this in place adequately, you will have to provide evidence. That means you're not just going to say it, you're not just going to describe it verbally, you're also going to provide evidence, tangible, strong, validated, reviewed evidence. You're going to have to give me evidence that you put everything here in place. Yesterday, I also explained a lot of misconceptions and a lot of things that people misunderstand when it comes to this. So I was telling people yesterday the difference between 6.1 that has risk in it versus 8.2 and 8.3. I was telling people that. I was telling people, how can you achieve 4.4? Right? How can you achieve 4.4? And yesterday I told people to go and look at and so if you're not here, if you were not here yesterday, I told everybody to go and look at something called Microsoft MCRA. You can type it into Google. It will show you the Microsoft cybersecurity reference architecture. Your organization might not be using Microsoft for everything, but at least you will understand the concept of what we call interconnected processes or an interconnected systems. That is a beautiful set of documentation plus PowerPoint and a couple of other things. So most clients that I work with, they never understand 4.4. Most people just completely misunderstand 4.4 as it is. People misunderstand, let me see, which other one? They misunderstand 6.3. They think that 6.3 is really talking about IT changes alone. It's beyond that. If your CISO changes, if your chief risk officer changes, if people change in your organization, that's also a concern. A lot of people don't get 8.1 right. When you start to ask them about 8.1, the way they think about 8.1, the way they approach 8.1 is usually a problem. So there's so many things that people misunderstand, right? And I'm blessed Let me not say I'm lucky. I'm blessed that I get to do this work, and I'm in a position to be able to see what works and what does not work in different organizations, in different landscapes as it sees. I can see the challenges that people have consistently. That means you go from one organization to another organization and you can see the types of challenges that they have with the way in terms of their understanding of what each of these subclauses, what they stand for, which automatically then affects how exactly they go about putting these things in place. So also from the older version of this standard to this new one, they've moved around 10.1 and 10.2, and there's a reason for that, right? The reason for that is because the most clients actually have a problem with 10.1. They don't have a model by which they can determine the maturity. They think that it's a continual improvement means whatever it is that the auditor found out, and then they'll say we'll continually improve around it. But that's not what it says. That's not really the intent behind this. And that's one big thing, right? People really, they don't understand what this portion is. They don't. And because they don't understand it, it automatically affects how they do their implementation automatically. That in terms of how they do the implementation, because it all starts with the why. Am I right? The big why. Why does this thing even exist? Why will you repeat? Why will you say we should do 8.1? Why will you repeat 6.2? Why will you put risk in 6.1 and also bring it back again in 8.2 and 8.3? It's because 6.1 is meant to be dealing with the risk between 4 to 10, while 8.2 and 8.3 is meant to be dealing with the annex. So there's so many things in here anyway. So I had all that conversation yesterday. I don't want to take the whole day. I'll share the videos. I'll share the video with you once I put it online. I didn't go through this yesterday because I just didn't get the chance to. But this is very important, right? Some of the key standards that I think every organization should be worried about. Some of the key standards that I think everybody should be worried about. So if you look in here, I think I have captured how many here? About 6. But if I had my way, I will include another one. Let me see. Where do I put it? Okay, let me put it here. Let me put it here. Okay, good. So if I had my way, I will also put this. And this week, I'm going to do something on privacy. I'm going to do something on privacy and data protection, which is these two standards. One of them compulsorily you must have you must have ISO 27001 implemented already. The other one you can without, right? So what that means is for some organizations, right, they want to put in something for data protection and privacy. Are we together? However, they have not implemented 27001. So for those organizations, they can still do it. There's a brand new version. It came out last year. So everybody, you can open the browser and type ISO 29100. You can open the browser and you can type ISO 29100. You see, it's a privacy standard. It's an international privacy standard. And it's great for organizations that have not yet implemented 27001. So if the organization has not yet implemented 27001, then, and they want to do something on ISO, they don't want to do only the Kenya version of the standard, or only the Nigerian version, or only the Ghanaian version, or only the version for Malawi. They want something that is acceptable across the world, and they have not yet implemented 27001, then they should do 29100. I'll talk about that on Friday when I'm dealing with privacy and data protection. But for organizations that have already implemented 27001, then they should do the PIMS, right? They should do something called PIMS, privacy, the management system, right? So the PIMS, it's called PIMS. the privacy management system. That's what it is. All right. So that's what they should do. If your organization, if your organization has already implemented 27001, then you should do 27001. So I know in a lot of places around the world, 22301 is not a big deal because sometimes the regulator does not say. Um, but I don't think any reasonable company should exist without, especially if you're in financial services. That means if you're in insurance, that means if you're in fintech, you're in insurance, you're in banking, you're in electricity, those kinds of critical national infrastructure institutions. I don't think business continuity is a nice to have. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. Another thing that is not very popular around here is ISO 20,000. All right. A lot of, however, if it was in a place like the UK, I've got a lot of clients that I do ITIL work for. So they're not big on ISO 20,000, they're big on ITIL, right? So these are some of the key things that matter. But everybody, let me ask you. Okay, so before I ask that question, so IT service management, right? Which is ISO 20,000, and then 9001, and then risk management, because you will see in all the ISO standards there's something on risk, and that risk is every kind of risk is all built around 31,000. It's all built around 31,000. I can also add something here. I can say ISO 27005, which is specifically for info sec risk. Everybody, you can check it out. ISO, yeah, 27005, which is specifically for information security risk. Brilliant document, and they just updated it last year. Also, brilliant stuff. There's no way you'll be able to do 27001 at its height, at a very senior level of maturity, if you don't really understand how to apply 27005. You're going to need that, especially because of 27001. And then for everybody that is here that is an auditor of some sort, like my dear self, you're going to have to be very familiar with some standard code 19011. You're going to need to be very familiar with that standard as it is. So pretty much. And then 9001. So on this page, I think, so let me change these, right? I've added a couple of others, right? So 7 key standards. So let me ask everybody this question. If an organization, and I want to hear the response of everybody here, it will be interesting to hear from you. If an organization had to pick just one, which one should it be? I want to hear from everybody. If an organization, a bank, any kind of organization had to pick just one of these standards, they're limited to just one, which one should it be? Everybody in the chat room, I definitely want to hear from you. Right? I want to hear from everybody. If an organization had to pick one, what should it be? Victor, okay. The 27001 people seem to be winning. Femi Adari, the 27 people. The 27001 people seem to be winning. I completely disagree with all of you, but you seem to be winning. Everybody. Right. Everybody, please go ahead. All of you, because you're all here as information security experts. That's why you're all saying that. That's why all of you are saying that. Okay, now I have a different set of people. The Winnie Prince, they're beginning to pick something else. Winnie is picking 22301. Princess beginning to pick 22301. Femi is of a different mindset. It says 20,000. Ah, Damilola is with Femi, right? 20,000. Enam says this. Right. This is very interesting. This is extremely interesting. Feolua says 20,000 and Marie. I find this to be extremely interesting, right? Who else? Who else has any thought or opinion around this? Who else has got any thought or opinion around this? Which one should be number one? All right? Which one should be number one? Let me hear from one or two others. All right. Right. I completely disagree with all of you. Completely. Right. I think I not that I think I know. I said 9001 should be number one. All right. It talks about the quality of processes. All right, everybody. The quality of what? Processes. And every department in an organization is made up of processes. That means that includes IT department, that includes risk department, right? So it doesn't matter. That includes IT, risk, information security, all of them. 9001 can help you easily determine if processes, whether it's in IT or it's in risk or it's in audit or it's in operations or it's in infosec, if the processes are if they exist, if processes if they exist, that's number one. If they exist, if they're effective, if they're efficient, yeah. If processes um, exist, if they're effective in all departments, everybody, in every department. 9001 is the most important process. It's the most important standard. It's actually the standard of which all the others. So I think somebody was saying that, right? I think it's Femi. Femi was saying that all the other ones are even referring to 9001. All right. True. Yeah. So really, right? In fact, if you ask me as a person, I'll go with 9001 being number one. I'll go with ISO 31000 being number two. I will then go with ISO 22301. I will then go with ISO 20000. Some people are going to be very annoyed before I go with 27001. In order of priority. That's what I'll go with. And you feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to disagree with me. All right. I'll do quality management, enterprise risk, business continuity, IT service management. And before I even talk about information security, that will be the sequence in which I will do this thing. In fact, if you know something about I mean, I can talk about this all day. So, but of course, as I say, right? So people can disagree with me, but I'm saying that this, in reality, right? An organization has got to look at all its processes, not some, all its processes, right? And then an organization needs to do what we call enterprise risk, of which information security, business continuity, all these things are all under enterprise risk. And then an organization has got to do business continuity, and business continuity is not just about IT. It's about many things. There's continuity around people. There's continuity around facilities and locations. There's continuity around many things. Before I then talk about IT, and if there are no assets, you cannot secure assets that you don't have, everybody. He that is down needs fear no fall. Information security sits on what? On data slash information that is within assets. All right. No data, no information, no assets, whether it is computers or routers, whatever, or databases, then no need for information security. Did you hear that, everybody? Did you hear that? No need for information security. He that is down needs fear no fall, right? If there is no data that sits within assets, and data and information sits within one asset or the other, whether the assets are digital or physical, no data information, or they have data and information but no assets, there's no need for information security. Once again, everybody can you can disagree with me. You can say, oh no, doctor, I disagree. It's fine. But I can tell you that first thing, even when you talk about digital assets, everybody, and I hope you're looking at the chat room, right? Digital assets must first must first be configured securely, right? Configured securely. And this secure, right? This secure IT config, especially when it comes to the technology side of things, digital assets, and I'm referring to the ones that are information technology assets in this instance, right? Must first be configured securely, secure IT configuration, and that is done by IT, not InfoSec. InfoSec is really like in a lot of instances like what we can call it's like a second line function, secure IT configuration. Of course, they've got their own first line functions, but it's really more of the second line function, generally speaking, right? Um, um, this is done. I wanted to say something. Security configuration. Um, this is done by IT, not InfoSec. So once again, everybody, look at some of the things that are put in the chat room. Everybody, look at some of the things that are put in the chat room. As I said, you can disagree with me. Um, uh, you can disagree with me as it is. So, yeah. So, before we a router laptops require secure config. Right? And I hope you're picking some of these things, whether they're laptops, whether they're desktops, whether they're databases or applications, whatever, man, whatever that thing is, they require secure configuration that should be carried out by the IT. The challenge, right? Requires secure configuration that should be carried out by the IT department, right? The challenge is that the IT department focuses more on functional configuration and sometimes ignores ignores secure configuration and deployment. Right? IT department focuses more on functional configuration and sometimes ignores secure configuration. Everybody, if you go to the chat room, I made some real points in there. Once again, feel free to disagree. Feel free to, yeah, feel free to do anything. But it's good. Let me hear your thoughts. Let me hear your thoughts. All right. So I mean, another thing definitely is is IT, is information security, right? More of a second line, or first line function. All right, everybody, share your thoughts with me. Is information security, is it the second line function, or it's all right? It has it plays first line in certain instances, but it's more of a second line function. And if you don't understand what first line, second line is, somebody please open the browser for me and type 3LOD, 3LOD, right? Or 3 lines, right? Just type 3LOD or 3 lines, yes. And so is information security, is it first line or function or second line? So if you look at the 3LOD, somebody please paste in the chat room if you can, and maybe Boma, if you can, put an image of a fully populated 3LOD in the chat room. Boma, you can do that, right? So the 3 lines. All right, so once again, let's move on because of time. I don't want to spend all my time discussing this, but my point is you need to understand these things clearly. Okay, what happened to my, hold on. Okay, no, I'm not trying to annotate anything. Hold on. All right, good. All right, good. Everybody, look at this, right? I didn't go through this yesterday, so hey, I can as well quickly go through it today. Okay. All right, once again. Good, good, good. All right. So, all right. So some organizations here on this call, they've got all these things. Am I right? So they've got all these things, right? Some organizations, they have all these things. This is what? Enterprise Risk Management Department. This is what? Enterprise Risk Management Department. Am I right? This is what? Audit Department. This is what? Mr. CISO / InfoSec Department. All right. This is who? IT Department. And this is usually delivered in most organizations by who? Risk Department, but usually by the Ops Risk Unit or something like that. So this is how most organizations, while this is now something like this is then delivered by either process improvement or process engineering, if they really know what it is that they're doing, or process transformation, something along those lines, right? But that's it. Now, these are all ISO standards that some organizations, I can tell you some organizations are even on this call that have all these things, right? They've implemented them, they've adopted them. Whether they've adopted them appropriately is a different conversation, but they've done some of these things. I can mention some organizations that are even here on this call. But you've got to go back. If you're a bank that is here, a bank in Kenya, you can't be only talking about 27001. The regulators need to realize these things. There are many things that you need to put in place. Your 9001 needs to be working. Your risk needs to be working. Your audits should be working. Even your 20,000 should come even before the 27001. So, but once again, these are my thoughts. You can go into the chat room and share your own thoughts with me. I went through this yesterday. I'm not about to go through it again. I went through this yesterday. I'm not about to go through it I'm not about to go through it again. So everybody, just have a look. I was telling them yesterday that there are different types of data sets you should worry about. So if you're going to be doing information security, you're going to be preventing your data from all sorts of fraudsters and thieves. Then um, then you should be worried about where exactly are these records. One of the things I also told people yesterday is the 1, 2, 3 all the way to number 7 are typically seated inside of number 9. I hope you can see my screen. All the way at the inside of number 9. And a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't even do that, right? A lot of people don't know that, and they don't take that into consideration, and that's a challenge, right? And that's a challenge. So I talk about this. I also talked about CIAP yesterday. I talked about CIAP. The world is changing. So all of us are dealing with CIAP now rather than just CIA. The conversation of CIA has changed. It is now much more complex. I don't know what's wrong with my cursor, whatever, right? I wanted to write CIAP in the middle of the yeah, okay. I wanted to write it in the middle of the triangle, but I'm sure you figure out what I'm saying, right? So privacy is a big portion of the conversation now. Privacy says not just C or I or A. Now we have P that we all have to deal with. I also asked a very big question. I said, information security people think that availability is theirs because I've come from a core IT background. I mean, I studied computer science and engineering. I used to put motherboards together. I've built websites at some point in time in my life. So I come from a core IT background. And I know that availability is not most of the availability challenges that organizations have is not from information security. Sorry to disappoint you. It's really not from information security. Most of the challenges that people have when it comes to availability is from core problems with the configuration, the functional configuration, and capacity issues. And that's where all the monitoring platforms, sometimes maybe 20%, maybe 30%, sometimes the cause of non-availability is coming from um, from a security breach. But I can tell you that that's not big. It's definitely less than 50%. All right, it is definitely. Go and ask anybody in the IT department of any organization, they will tell you that it is less. All right, in any, right, not only the IT department, in any department at all, they will tell you categorically that it is less than 30% of the time that you find out that, oh, it was security that caused the lack of CIAP, right? Good. They'll tell you that. So once again, go and ask the people that all the time that you've had downtime, what caused it? Was it some kind of information security breach, or it was something else? I can tell you, they'll tell you that it's usually something else. It's usually something from IT, not always a breach. But that's another thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration. Because information security, CISSP, and all those kinds of things, they say a lot around. CIA. Every conversation starts with CIA. Does not necessarily mean that the whole of availability belongs to information security. Sorry to disappoint you, but that's just the situation. I also did this assessment yesterday. So everybody quickly, let's do it again, especially for all the new people. Over 10 in terms of your solid understanding of these things and how to protect them for an enterprise. Give me your score very quickly. Your understanding of these things and how to protect them in an enterprise. Give me your score as a person. Now I'm asking you as a person. Very quickly, I want to move to today's work. Please, quickly, everybody in the chat room. All right, look at them. That do you really know what to do within an organization, for an organization, as an information security professional, to ensure that everything here is safe and secure? Do you know what to do? Do you know the steps? Do you know what you need to carry out? Do you know how you need to approach it? Everybody, quickly. Are you sure? Do you know what to do? Do you know how to approach it? Everybody, do you know what to do? Do you know how to approach this? How to keep these things secured for your own organization? Do you know what to do? Give yourself a score over 10, right? Because an organization that wants to be secure, they need to do these things. They need to pay attention to these things, and they need actionable things. Information security is not LinkedIn for all you LinkedIn information security professionals, right? they're more they're more LinkedIn professionals than actual professionals, right? Right? So everybody, give yourself a score, right? All right. So all right. So please get your organization, get them secure, right? Get them all right. Get them secure. Get your organization secure. In reality, get them secure, right? So that means everybody that is here, there's an actionable step for you to take. There's an actionable step for you to take relative to everything here. Some you might already have sorted it out, everybody, but there are all the actionable things that need to be taken. Do you know how many organizations are struggling with number 4 and number 6, everybody? Number 4 and number 6. So many organizations. They're struggling with number 4 and number 6. Let's not even speak about number 10. Look at all the things I've packed into number 10, everybody. I packed a lot of things into number 10. I packed a lot of things into number 10. So do ensure your organization is safe and secure. This is not about qualification. Qualification is good, but there are many other things. Everybody, look at this page. Look at this. Can you beat your chest that you to a large extent, maybe not 100%, but you can stand in front of your executives, in front of the board, and tell them that you can give them what I would say 95% assurance relative to everything that is here in terms of how secure these things are. Yesterday, we spoke about number 17. We said none of us take number 17 into consideration. I've never seen anybody write a report around number 17, especially as it affects the organization and the executives, right? Can somebody hack into the MD's social media account? Is that something you've considered? Most people only think about the controls that are in Annex A. They're not really thinking about what they're trying to do. They're only thinking about the controls in Annex A, right? So how many people can really beat their chest around 70 or 80% of the applications around number 16, especially when it's on-prem? Very few. I can tell you very few, right? Can really beat their chest around number 17. Are people really taking into consideration number 14, number 15? There's a lot of thinking that you need to apply to these things. And I spoke extensively about these things yesterday. I spoke even something like number 19. People don't even know why you have it. People don't know why you have number 19. Most people struggle with number 18. They might be doing it, but what they're doing, is it effective? You can see there, I put, is it effective? It's not just that you're doing it. Is it effective? Is it effective? Once again, I need to run because of time. Maybe you've got great dashboards in your own organization based on your SIM and based on many other platforms that you have. Maybe you've got great dashboards. I hope you do. I pray you do, that you have great dashboards in your own organization. So I really do hope that you have that as it is. Okay. If you don't know if you don't know anything about the cloud, then I don't know how you're going to be able to work for a fintech, because most of the fintechs are cloud native. The traditional banks, traditional insurance, you might have one data center in their building or somewhere else, but most fintechs are cloud native. So if you're going to be an information security professional, do you really understand the cloud? Do you understand how to implement controls depending on the kind of model that your organization or your client is using, because there are many things to do here, and you really just need to understand what it is that you're doing. Okay, so that's important. That is very important, and I'm hoping we're all taking these things into keen consideration. All right, I showed you those metrics yesterday. Uh, I said most organizations don't have these metrics in place. Most organizations don't have the measures. Sorry, they don't have the measures to be able to demonstrate that these metrics have been adequately put in place. They do not have the measures to show that these metrics have been adequately put in place. Most organizations don't do that. Some do, but not a lot of them. The validated measures. Let me qualify it, that you can validate where all this is coming from. Most people don't, right? I also showed some more metrics, and all these metrics, both this one and this one, they're all coming from COVID. I showed that to people yesterday. The 26 metrics, they're all coming from COVID. So if you're new today, you need to go back to your organization and say, well, people like, I've been to a lot of organizations, they just say, oh, we've implemented. Then I start to ask them simple things like, okay, show me how you're actually measuring relative to these metrics. How can you implement IT governance, or how can you implement COVID and you don't have actual measures relative to these metrics? How? So that means you're not really taking a lot of these things into consideration. People will say, oh, we've implemented, but they haven't done much, right? So I spoke to everybody about this yesterday. I covered number 1. So today I'm going to try to do magic. I'm going to cover 5, 6, 7, and 8 in the next couple of minutes. Are we all together? Again, I'm going to cover 5. I'm going to cover 2, 3, 4, and 5. Annex 5, Annex 6, Annex 7, and Annex 8, right? Over the next couple of minutes. And the things that are in green, they're my own interpretation of these things. So why should we be doing a governance and management of information security? Why should we be looking at organizational controls? Why should we be looking at people controls? Why should we be looking at physical controls and technological controls? This is the breakdown for the new version of 27001. This is the breakdown for the new version of 27001. All right. So I'm going to go, yesterday I already did the 4 to 10. Today I'm just going to go through A5, A6, A7, A8. So let us jump straight into it. All right. Let's go straight into it. So everybody, if you can see on my screen, right, this is A5. Everybody, this is A5. Right? How many controls? 37 of them. Why will they call this portion organizational controls? Why? Why is this portion called organizational controls? Because they deal with the organization, generally speaking. That's why they're called organizational controls, that they deal with the organization generally. Because they call them organizational controls does not mean that some of them are not technical, because that's the assumption. The assumption is because they've called them organizational controls, that means some of them are not technical. That's not true. Within the organizational controls, some of the areas that are put in red, everybody, some of these areas that are put in red, they are all still very technical. There is a technical side to the portions that are put in red. So somebody asked me that, what does green, yellow, and red mean? Green means doesn't require technicality. Yellow means it might or might not, depending on how you have implemented it. That means in some highly automated environment, some of the yellows are all completely technical. But in some non-very automated environments, some of the yellows are not technical, or they've implemented them using non-technical controls. But the red, oh, trust me, if you're really going to do the red properly, in modern day, you have to really take some technical things into consideration. So once again, this is from me. This is my opinion. You can disagree. You can agree, however, whatever works for you. This is my opinion relative to these things, right? So yesterday I was telling them the difference between the policy that is inside of 4 to 10 versus the policies, the list of all the policies, a lot of policies that are inside of 5.1. Okay, I was telling them about that. Also, there's a link between the 5.2 here and the 5.3 that is within 4 to 10 because you have to have a CISO. It must be known, it must be approved, it must be qualified, it must be experienced. You have to have an information security or IT auditor. You have to have the team, blue team, red team, the SOC team, whatever kind of team you want. There must be executives, the people who review these things from time to time. Okay, there is the concept of the segregation of duties. What does that mean, right? At what level? What are we segregating? Are we segregating at the departmental level to say, well, this team, they're the people who make controls, right? And the ones are the ones who check controls. Or are we segregating at the level of an application? You know, you can do departmental segregation, but you can also do segregation. After all, some of you are familiar with that thing they used to call an SOD matrix when I used to do SOP sometime in my life, right? Segregation of duties matrix, so that within the application, some people can raise a voucher, somebody else will have to approve it within an application. You can also do it even within a DAM, right? Some kind of database access monitoring solution, somebody that can do this and somebody else that can do that. You can also do it at the level of a department. So when I'm asking people what does segregation of duties mean, they get confused because I need to know at what level at which you've done 5.3. 5.3 can be done on multiple levels, okay? And that's very important. And whatever you've done in there, well, you know, it has an effect on many other things. Um, Everything rises and falls on leadership. 5.4 is key, the executives. There are many things that are critical that they need to put in place, and that's very important. Why do we have 5.5 and 5.6? Why? Right? Especially 5.5 is more applicable to regulated entities. Because if you're regulated by the central bank, by the telecommunications, communication, whatever those entities are, then 5.5 is important. But even if you're not regulated, you still have to, you know, everybody has to kind of, if you fall within a certain category, you still have to do data protection and you must maintain some kind of communication or conversation with the authorities, even relative to data protection. So it's really applicable to all of us, right? You can't run away from the contact with various authorities. You cannot run away with the contact with various authorities. If you get to, so it's important whether you're regulated or not regulated. And right, because you need to know what they're saying to you, especially relative to data and information CIAP, right? They might tell you that, oh, you need to maintain certain kinds of account data, certain types of data sets for a certain period of time. And if you cannot prove that you're holding those records, you might come under one penalty or the other. So 5.5 is not a nice to have. Hardly can anybody tell me that 5.5 is not applicable to them. But 5.6 is a nice to have. 5.5 is a must have. But a sensible CISO, a sensible information security officer will have to be part of 5.6. Because I mean, there are all sorts of search groups and all sorts of groups where you're getting notifications with regards to what is happening in information security around the world, the patches you should be worried about, the what is happening on the dark web and things like that. So 5.6 makes a lot of sense so that you're aware of these things. We can't put a gun to your head that you must compulsorily belong to some of these groups, but the standard is advice that you do that. The entire concept of 5.7, why is it under organizational controls? Why? Let the experts in the room, let them answer me in the chat room. Why is threat intelligence. Why didn't they put it under technological controls? You can't achieve threat intelligence without technology platforms. But why is it under organizational controls? Because the reason, well, the reason is because there's some portions of these things that have to deal with who are you allowed to notify, who do you tell something, who's allowed to tell everybody within the organization, and things like that. But you can't do it end to end using documents. One of my favorite sayings, and I think I have it somewhere, I say to people, documentation is good. Documentation is good, but documents don't block ports. Documents don't deny services, right? So you can't achieve the whole of number 7 with Excel or with Microsoft Word. You're going to have to, you're going to need to have some kind of threat intelligence. Why is 5.8 here? Why? Are we talking of every kind of project in an organization? No. Primarily, it's the projects that have a lot of data and information that is being managed within them, especially IT projects. If you and I are doing an IT project, we should work with the CISO. They should include information security from the design and the architecture stage. Information security should not be an afterthought. That is why 5.8 is there. So I'm going to need evidence that your work, that all the projects. So what about if you're opening a new branch? Will 5.8 be applicable? Absolutely. That's why, what about all the physical controls that the CISO needs to be working with, right? What about all the physical controls that the CISO, that needs to be in there as part of physical controls? Can you open a branch and can you start and build a branch and close a branch without the involvement of the CISO? According to 27001, no. Because there's an information that there's a physical security side of the work. Now, the CISO is not trying to take the job of the facility guy or the general services guy or whatever name you call him, admin, but he's meant to be able to say that the CCTVs and the entrances and all those kinds of things are secure. But you can't even escape this for anything that is IT. That's why you have 5.8. Why do you have 5.9? Everybody go and check out something called CIS controls. What are the first, everybody please check. There's a simple document, even if you just put it into Google and just type CIS version 8. The first 2 controls, can somebody write them for me in the chat room? Quickly. What exactly are the first 2 controls? All right? What are the first 2 requirements that are inside of CIS controls version 8 to tell you the importance of 5.9? To tell you the importance of 5.9, can somebody help me in the chat room? All right, just type it into Google, click on images. All right, quickly, type it into Google, click on images. I don't want to have to do that. The first 2 things talks about what? Inventory. Inside of CIS controls, Boma, please, to put CIS controls, put it into Google. Right? Good. Thank you very much. Look at it. So it is what? Inventory of the assets. Then they don't even stop there. They then go to inventory of software assets, knowing that these 2 things, people struggle with them. Thank you very much, Marvin. People know that, everybody knows that people struggle with these 2 things. That the inventory and control of assets, and then they even now repeated it talking about the inventory and control of software assets. That is what this 5.9 is about. And this is a global problem. 3 weeks ago, I sat with a lot of enterprise architects in Accra, and guess what? All of them said asset management is a problem. How many of your organizations, let me go back, if I come back here and I start to ask you, look at number, where is that place? Good. Look at number 10. How many organizations can beat their chest that they have inventory of everything on number 10? API inventory, we've got it. Middleware inventory, we have it. Database inventory. If I come to your organization, somebody would have installed something somewhere, right? Some test environment, some development guy would have picked one open source application, right? Yeah, well, so most people are struggling from number 10. And that's where this comes in. That is where this 5.9, that's where it comes in. Okay. 5.10, I will ask organizations, I'll ask them, I say, where's your AUP? Okay. And then the people will say, oh, then I say, this, oh, our AUP is bundled with our mobile device or is bundled with something. I said, but AUP is so important for you to bundle it. And every staff of the organization needs to be trained. That means awareness needs to be applied to AUP. In fact, the most important content, and maybe somebody has a decent AUP template, the most important concept component of your awareness training is meant to be the AUP. That's it. So the way people approach 5.10, it's not great. People are meant to be, everybody's meant to be trained on AUP. Everybody's meant to sign AUP. And I don't think you should even mix AUP. It's too important. It's too critical. If you have litigation, if the employee takes you to court, it is AUP that you're going to have to rely on. That, dude, you signed this and you sat in training and in awareness. You even passed some kind of exam. You can't tell me that you don't understand what this is. When people are leaving, how did they return their assets, laptops, badges, ID cards, and even usernames and passwords? There's a big problem around 5.11 because you think that 5.11 is just about physical things. It's also about access. It's also about the revocation of access. So there's a link between that 5.11 and 5.18. Everybody, right? Everybody, when I see, so I mean, okay, people think that, right? Anyways, uh, somebody's making me laugh, right? Okay, 5.11 is tied to 5.18. Okay, everybody, can you open a browser and say, how does Microsoft 365 or Google Suite help you with regards to 5.12? Everybody, quickly do that for me. Quick. How does, so because most people don't think that classification can be achieved using Microsoft tools or even open source tools and things like that. Most people don't think that that you can use Google Suite or Microsoft Office to achieve it. All right. So that's a problem. So you can use Microsoft Suite and all sorts of applications to achieve 5.12 and 5.13. You can, but most people think that all we want to see during an audit is a policy. They think that a policy does suffice. Policy is only about 20 or 30% of the implementation of the controls. Where is the evidence that you're doing this both effectively and efficiently? All right, 5.14 it applies to what? Both physical and maybe digital. That means maybe something to do with your ISP, maybe something to do with your wide area network, and also maybe something to do with if you have to use some kind of dispatch right to take sensitive documents from point A to point B. These are all key things that you want to take into consideration. 5.15, everybody has Active Directory or Jump Cloud or some kind of directory system. Am I right? I would like to believe. Everybody has a directory system. So I can't even listen to you because what 5.15 to 5.18 is saying is a review of your IAM on your IAM on Azure, on AWS. It's a review of Azure Directory Services. It's a review of your on-prem directory services. That's what 5.15 to 5.18 is saying. That's what it's saying. Whether you use single sign-on as an organization, it's talking about your directory service, the group policies, right? That's what these things are referring to. So you can't use a document to replace the evidence of how you do this. And whether, when I log on to the domain, if I log on to your domain, I might be logging on only to the domain. I might now need another set of credentials to log on to specific applications or otherwise. So really, this is about access to the domain, access to the to the environment, access to infrastructure, and access to specific applications and databases. So, because you can log on to the domain does not mean that that's the same set of credentials to log on to an application. And that doesn't mean that you can log on to an application, does not mean you can log on to the database that is behind the application. These are really difficult things to do. So sometimes when people tell me that, oh, I do a lot of PCI, and before I started doing PCI, everybody will tell me that, oh, PCI is very technical, but ISO 27001 is not technical. I just look at them. Then later when I became a QSA, then I said, but I've always figured this out, that 27001 is even way more technical than PCI. It just does not have what did they call it? It just is not very prescriptive. Sorry. All right. Okay. So that's a big deal as it is, right? From 5.19 talks about vendor due diligence. And if you're a big organization, you should worry about 19, 20. Why I put 21 there is because sometimes you really have to know who you're getting everything IT from. You really might have to do a technical review, especially if you're getting software from somebody. Who knows? There's a client I was working with, and we're buying some things from Huawei, and then they insisted that, some extra due diligence. I don't know why they felt that way, because you can buy something from every part of the world. Just like everybody is saying, oh, DeepSeek will take your data and then Chinese will do this. Who told you that ChatGPT is also not doing the same? Right? So why I put 5.21 in there is that if somebody's supplying you software, somebody's supplying you data center services, some of those things that really require that you understand the supply chain that even the provider is giving to you. That's important. So 5.19, all these things, 1920, is about who you're buying anything from, anything that is being used to process data and information. And most people struggle with 5.19, especially small businesses, fintechs. They completely struggle with 5.19 all the way to 22. And then look at it here, they put 23, which is how you buy your cloud platforms. They put it under organizational. They put 23 intentionally under organizational because there's an organizational side to it, but there's also a technical side to it. There's definitely also a technical side to it. Also a technical side to it. Because you have to know who you're buying SaaS, PaaS, IaaS platforms from. And what due diligence did you do before you just decided to buy a cloud platform or buy an application simply because it's available on the internet? And shadow IT comes from 5.23. I think I mentioned that to somebody recently. Because departments can just go and buy CRM on their own. They can just go. HR department can just go and buy HR software. People just buy anything. They won't check with the CISO because they have a budget in their department. They go ahead and buy. Okay? I don't like the way they put 24 and 25 because ordinarily you should worry about events before you worry about incidents. All right? But why they've done this is that they're looking at how you plan and prepare, generally speaking. But it does in the right order of things. Or if I was going to name 24, I'll say information security, event, and incident management. But they didn't miss the incident because they brought it up in 25. So you can also go to check what's the difference between an event, an alert, a notification versus service is actually down due to a security breach, which is 26, because they're not the same thing. An event versus an incident, they're not the same thing. Before we then talk about how do you do this learning, is learning just sitting down in a room to do like project management learning, or is learning also got to do with the learning from your artificial intelligence that is embedded inside of your SIEM, inside of your DLP, is that also learning? Is it, can we learn from the AI capabilities that our service desk application has? You know, you have to think about what learning is here. And how do you do the collection of the evidence? Do you do manual? Do you do automated? Can you collect evidence from log files that are in your SIEM? Because that's technical. That is technical, right? But there's an organizational side to it, because sometimes it might just be walking around and talking to people and things like that, but it might also be very technical. All right. 5.29 is a big deal. How do you get all these responses from your servers and your monitoring platforms and your databases and your storage? How do you get 29? Because there's a technical side to it. There is a technical side to it. Because the things are under organizational control does not mean that there's no technical side to it. And of course, you can't, in modern day, 5.30 is technical. I'm holding an event in the next couple of weeks. No, what am I saying? I'm holding an event in 2 weeks' time. There's a new standard, ISO 27031. Everybody, you can check it out. It's primarily for disaster recovery. And I'm also going to have one of my colleagues that does AWS on the call, talking about, I think AWS does something called Elastic Disaster Recovery Service or something like that. So there's a technical side in modern day to 5.30. Okay, where are the lawyers in the house? Then we call upon you, Mr. and Mrs. Lawyer or Miss Lawyer, into 5.31, right? And that 5.31 is complex. There are 4 things there, everybody. It's legal. Legal is different from statutory. Statutory is different from regulatory. Regulatory is different from contractual. There are 4 things there. You know, most people just follow a template. The template leads the implementation. They don't think about the controls. They don't think about what it means. How does it apply? How does it apply to the client? So if they have a template that only has legal and regulatory there, that's all they're going to do. But if you look at the requirements, there are 4 different things there. And not everything that is legal is statutory. Not everything that is statutory is regulatory. Not everything that is regulatory is contractual. And that's a big deal. Once again, intellectual property, right? What does this mean? Does this mean if you're using CorelDRAW and Adobe and Oracle databases that you have not licensed as an organization? Does it also mean that you're using documentation and images that you have not licensed as an organization? So, because all those are breaches in themselves, okay? And then we start to go to records, and a lot of how you protect your records will come from some kind of regulator, or you can use some other international standard. You can use around how should you keep, or how long and how, in what format, in what state should you keep certain types of data and information. God forbid that you're from financial services. You better know how, you better go read all the publications from your from your regulator in terms of how long you need to keep different types of information. Somebody has come and they've closed out their account. How long should you used to keep that information? Oh, you're no longer working with a supplier. How long should you keep that information? Your employee has left the organization and they come back 10 years asking for a reference. How long should you keep that information? Big deal. And if you go to 5.34, that talks about the GDPR, that talks about privacy in its entirety. So that means if you're doing Kenya Data Protection Act, or you're doing the Ghana version, or the Nigerian version, or the Malawi version, you should bring it all under 5.34. And if you come to 5.35, right, who are the people that give you independent review of information security? Some people can, is that the CISO's job? The CISO is the one that is directing the implementation of this. It can never really give you independent review. Is that the IT auditor's job? Maybe. Maybe we can use some reviews that the internal auditor has done. Maybe you also have people who do VAPTs for you, external people that do all sorts of assessments for you, might be applicable to 5.35. 5.36, are we talking about compliance generally? Not really. We're only talking about compliance with regards to information security. So we don't care about your, what's that thing? Your capital base, your who you need to borrow money to, the sectors that you're borrowing to. We don't really care about all that. But when it comes to 36, will AML come in here? I don't know. What do you think? The guy, the financing of terrorists, will it come in under 5.36? What do you think? Will fraud, right? And everything you put in place, will they come in under 5.36? And then finally, 5.37. What operating procedures are we talking about here? IT operating procedures, information security operating procedures, or operating procedures across the entire organization? Are we talking about operating procedures in every department, or we're only talking about IT or information security? Most people don't even have an answer to 5.37. Sometimes they show you the IT ones. Then you ask for the information security ones, right? So this is a big deal. All right, people, I'm running out of time. So I want to do this. I want to go to the remaining part, but this is a big deal because it's under organizational. You really need to understand what this and what this is and how it applies to your own organization. And most people don't take the time, the pain, the patience, or whatever it is that is required to ensure that they get this right. You know, most people that are certified to 27001, they don't really understand the standard. And I think I should know, right? Because you can see that they follow a template, they follow what the consultant gives to them. They've never really looked at it to say, how does this apply to our own organization? Because this is a lot of work. And that's the problem in Africa. You have one guy. Once you said sorry, can you hear me mute to that person, please? Right? And this is a big problem, especially for small businesses. Fintechs are like the worst. They really struggle here because they have one guy that manages AWS, manages their SIM, manages this, manages that, and he's also the guy that manages information security. So he's good because he understands all the technical platforms that they have. They use Azure for one thing or the other. They use all sorts of things. They do Azure DevOps. It kind of knows all those bits and pieces. But when it comes to this, it doesn't really understand the standard. And then, of course, he has too much work to do. And that's why once the people go through an audit, and that's it forever until the next audit period. Right? That's it. So the next audit period. Right. Good. So what are your thoughts before I continue, everybody? What do you think? What do you think about this portion of the work? Right? What do you think about organizational controls? Why do people have a challenge here? Why is it that people only want to use documents to address these things? Why is it that every thinking or thought around this is about a policy or a procedure? Why is it that people are not really thinking about how on earth do I implement this appropriately? Why are people not thinking along those lines? Right? Anybody in the chat room very quickly? Why? Why are people only interested in templates to do these things? Very important, right? Why are they not really thinking about how does this really apply to my organization? Why is it that I've not really thought through the application of this to my own organization? Because the way it works for different organizations is completely different. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the chat room because I need to move on very quickly, right? I think somebody was trying to say something to me. I don't know whether the mics are on. Yes, you can. You please go ahead if the microphone is on, and you can speak very quickly. As I need to quickly do this over the remaining. How many more minutes do we have? We've got about 40 minutes thereabout. Okay. All right. Policies don't block ports. Did you hear that? Policies don't block ports. Right? They don't deny services. They don't harden a lot of your assets. The hardening of assets, policies don't do that. You can have a policy that guides you, a procedure that guides you, but eventually you're going to need to do something. How come HR people are here? HR people, human people controls. Can you really do this without HR? No, you can't. You cannot. You cannot do this without HR. You can't. You can't do the people controls because people due diligence is important. In a place like Ghana, they're very diligent when it comes to this. They will get a police report for everybody before they hire you. They will screen you appropriately. Very good when it comes to that, especially because of their police report. And they do it even for the junior people. In a place like Nigeria, they usually only do police report for people of a certain cadre and above. But in Ghana, even if they're going to hire graduate trainees, they're going to get police report. They do that very well across a lot of organizations in Ghana. The screening is important, that you don't hire rogues, that you don't hire people that will then compromise your environment, that you don't hire people that will steal all your assets, and then internal fraud becomes a big deal. Of course, screening does not resolve everything, but it's a great place to start. It doesn't resolve everything, but it's a great place to start. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's important. Terms and of conditions of employment. People need to sign those things, either electronically signed or physically signed. I mean, this same 6.3 aligns to 7.2 and 7.3 within clauses 4 to 10. Awareness is a program for the year, but people don't take that into consideration. I always tell people that this 6.4 is not disciplinary, like, normal disciplinary, like, oh, you need to wear proper shoes to the office. You need to ensure that you don't go for 2 hours lunch. You need to wear a white shirt or a tie or whatever that thing is. That's not what 6.4 inside of this space is looking at. So sometimes when people show me their disciplinary document, I just start laughing. I'm like, dude, this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about disciplinary here, everybody, tied to the violation. Let me show you this. This 6.4 under people control is tied to the violation of 5.10 here, everybody. It's the violation of your AUP. You better go and look at that disciplinary properly. We're talking about what will happen to somebody if they violate the AUP. That's really what the disciplinary there is. It's not talking about general HR disciplinary. Because when the HR person comes, this still happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago. One of the clients, the HR person started talking about, oh, we have a disciplinary procedure. I'm like, dude, I don't care about general. I'm only here for information security. I don't care if people wear slippers to work or wear Crocs. I only want to see what is the documented penalty if somebody breaks your AUP. That's what I'm interested in. You're describing what happens when people come late to work. I'm here for information security, not for HR general processes. Right? And then what happens during termination? Because in Africa, we are not big on litigation. Employees don't really sue their employers because, we have a high rate of unemployment. But in other climes, 6.5 is a big deal because you can't fire people. They will sue you and make so much money. So what happens before you even terminate? The basis for termination, and what are the key things? Username, passwords, group policies. When you're terminating people before they leave the building, are you certain that they're out on all your systems? Very tough to give me evidence for 6.5 because HR does not have all the answers. They have to work with IT to give me the answers for 6.5. 6.6 is great. Once again, you have to really think about this. 6.7, right? You have to work with IT because it's not just, I worked with a client recently. They said, oh, we don't have a remote work policy. I have a remote work policy because we don't do remote work. I said, it's impossible not to do remote work. People work on Saturdays, people work from other locations. Don't think about remote work just purely from, oh, people are allowed to stay at home and not come to work. But what about the intermittent times that people need to work from different locations? What about people who can access the internet and their emails via their phone? How can you tell me that a modern organization does not have a remote work policy? Really? And remote work, are they not going to authenticate you via a VPN or something like that? And then you ask yourself, why is this security event coming here? I thought this was meant to be a SIM or something similar, because there's a manual side to it where there's an event, people can report, they can make a phone call, they can send an email, things like that. So everything is not AI or machine generated. For organizations that don't have physical offices, this is not a big deal. Most fintechs, a lot of them do 100% work from home. So physical controls might not be a big deal for them. In fact, most fintechs just keep an office because of the regulator. Because the regulator will come and then, they entertain the regulator in those offices. That's all. So they don't really do much in those offices. But if you're a brick and mortar organization, you're a bank, then everything here becomes a big deal. And the same things are applicable even to your PCI. Everything here is applicable even with regards to your PCI. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. All right. CCTV, physical entry, and every other thing that's got to do with that. Right? Working in secure areas. I mean, most people write that their CCTV footage wipes after every 90 days. Go and check for most people. The thing has wiped after 15 or 20 days. Right? It was 90 days. I'm like, dude, let's go and check whether we'll find it. All right. Let's go and check. So we'll backdate it and say, okay, let's check for the last year this same time. Like, oh, I think there's a problem with the CCTV. Of course, there's a problem with the CCTV. Right? So, and physical security is everything from how they come to the gates, to how they get to the reception, to how they get to each floor, to how they, most people, when I ask them, where are the designated sensitive areas in this organization? They don't have a document for that. Designated sensitive areas, they don't have a document for that. Nothing has been itemized, and then they'll have to now prove to me that they've secured all those sensitive areas. Sometimes they have for certain places, they don't have for every place. There's some weird controls in here, like 7.12. If you don't, and you think that it's only talking about data cabling, but it's also talking about electrical cables. Very weird control, right? Cabling security. That if there's no electricity, your systems will be down, and then somebody can perpetrate some kind of evil. And then, of course, somebody can then take advantage of one of your cables that you put in there. Maybe you need to go and do, what's that CCNA again, right? CCNA, or what's that thing we used to do in those days? I used to teach us about coaxial cables and all sorts of types of cables and what are the vulnerabilities tied to the kinds of cables that you have. What's that Microsoft exam in those days? That text. Something essential. I can't even remember. It was like year 2000 or something like that, or 99. Something essential. There was one Microsoft exam in those days that will teach you about cabling and those kinds of things. Network cables. And you also learn it in CCNA, at least I saw then. I can't remember now. It's a long time ago. And then, of course, most people struggle with 7.14. What equipment are they referring to 7.13? They usually data center equipment, those kinds of things. HVAC, right? Okay. So once again, the challenge is most people do not think about their own organization. They use one generic approach, something that they've used for another client, something that they heard in their last office, something that the consultant did not think through properly, something. Why 7.7 an issue? Why? Why should we worry about 7.7? Okay. What's that thing in Suits where the guy printed salaries and left it at the table or by the printing machine, and then somebody got a hold of the salaries of the partners? And also, I mean, I like to watch Harvey and Mike, right? So the physical control is a big deal. I mean, I like to watch CIS Cyber. I said CSI Cyber. CIS controls in my head. CSI Cyber, down with Bow Wow. So you see a lot of these kinds of things. So my imagination is good when I start to say, well, how do these controls apply to this organization? Right, everybody. So these are core things that you need to have. Every time I'm speaking, to clients, every time I'm speaking to clients and I say, sometimes they tell me we're not allowed to use open source. We're a bank. I said banks globally use open source. What are you talking about? Banks globally use open source. What are you talking about? But you have to use the open source within a controlled deployment, testing, and use type environment. That's what it is. People use Kali Linux, people. It's open source. But you have to use it within a controlled deployment, controlled testing, and controlled use. Approved. So most of I was doing an audit recently. The guy was like, oh, so we use open source for this, we use open source. I'm like, so where is your approved open source policy? Then the mic went off. Because he didn't realize that, for an organization that is certified already to 27001, you need to have that. Unfortunately, the standard does not mention these systems, everybody. The standard does not mention them. The standard tells you the controls. It doesn't tell you the software or the applications or the technology platforms that you need to use to achieve them. The standard does not say that. But I can tell you that in modern day, especially if you're an enterprise organization, you need to have these 12 things. Now, who will have the username and password to all these things? Will it be IT or will it be InfoSec? Everybody go to the chat room. Who will own the username and password to, let me say, who should have the username, the admin rights to number 4, IT or InfoSec? Who should have the admin rights to number 9? We should have the admin rights to number 10. Anybody, please tell me who should have. This is where the CISOs and CIOs act like they're from different political parties in most organizations. They're always fighting. CISOs and CIOs. Yeah. So who should have? Some people are saying. Some people are saying that InfoSec. I don't know. I don't know. What is the rule of thumb? Who should have the username and password to these things? Somebody said MCSC. Yes, something essential. I can't remember the book. That is a brilliant book. I wish I could find that book. Something essential. I can't remember what it is. Right? It was Microsoft Press or something like that, or Cybex. I was a young man then. So 4, 9, 10. Let me see. Abdul says 4, 9, and 10. Let me see. Abdul 4, 9, 10. Abdul, in an enterprise, will the CIO allow you to have number 9? I don't think so. Everybody, the NAC, in an enterprise, the CIO will agree that the CISO's team will manage the NAC? Nah, I don't think so. Maybe 4, I agree. Maybe 4, I agree. IT will own 1 and 2, am I right? IT will own 1, 2, 3. IT will definitely not give you 5 and 6. Who have admin rights to 7? This is a big global fight. It's not a Kenyan fight. So thank you. Okay, Musa is saying 1, 2, 3. Yes, InfoSec. Okay, Musa continue. You think Ibrahim NAC will be? No, I don't think so. NAC by risk management. No. The thing that I've seen that audit sometimes in some organizations, auditors owned the. Do I have a dam here? I don't think I included the dam here, right? Ah, right. I've seen audits in some organizations own um uh uh I don't know whether my friend Gibson is here. Gibson was working in an organization and he pretty much just he was managing a lot of these things and I was laughing. I was like, who should be managing some of these things? Is it CISO or CIO? Right. Anyways, right? Now, I mean, definitely number 13 should be with the seashell. I agree. Who should number 12 be with? In an enterprise. Very big argument, right? Really big argument. Really, really big argument. But the challenge, once again, is, you know, in an enterprise, these things are important. In an enterprise, these things are important. Okay? Now look at this, everybody. You know, why I put this, without these things, you will not get this. In fact, look at it, everybody. They have called it, let me add, let me see. Maybe I should add, let me see if I can add one more thing. Let me add like a service management platform, something like that. Okay. Because within that system, yours um people report their people report all sorts of information security. What am I doing? Okay. People report, yeah, like people like their service desk, right? Or service desk, right? People report their information security system sometimes to the service desk, right? So that's also very important. Okay. Slash service desk, Vanti, whatever that thing is, right? Some people use fresh desk or fresh service, sorry. Right? Now, if you don't have these things, please tell me how on earth you're going to achieve these things. Because the standard in itself calls these things technological controls. The standard in itself calls these things technological controls. That means the expectation of the standard. Okay, let me reduce the size of this thing. Hold on, let me do this so that we have an updated version, right? So let me add, what was I going to do? Where is everything that has got to do with security testing? Okay. Oh, your okay. So I was going to add monitoring platforms, right? So some network and application monitoring, whether it's the modules, whatever, solar winds, whatever, all those kinds of things. Um, Very important. We've covered. Let me see. What else am I missing? All your burp suite and all that we cover under number 14. OAS testing. Uh, Cover here. Let me see. What else should I add? Monitoring. Okay, even your monitoring. Let me even add hardware, VM, everything that's got to do with monitoring. Anyway, storage, everything that's got to do with monitoring, any kind of monitoring, plus your network, those kinds of things. Anyways, so it's fine. What else? Right. My point is the assumption is an organization needs to have a lot of these things. You have your WAF, number 5, you have your EDR, whatever. Because without those things, you have some, this is what I wanted to remember. Now I remember it. You have something for software application life cycle management, right? So something like an ALM and like Azure DevOps, GitHub Enterprise, those kinds of, yes. Okay, yes. So everybody, you can pick this, right? So the assumption, maybe this is not cover does maybe this does not cover everything, but at least it covers a large portion of it. The assumption is that the organization has these things. These things you can use to achieve these things, everybody. That's it. That's it. Otherwise, what you're going to try to do is to use policies and procedures and documentation to achieve these things. Look at where is your palm here, everybody? So where is your palm? 8.2. Where is your EDR? 8.1. Where is your GitHub? 8.4. Where is your anti-malware, antivirus? Also, maybe your EDR 8.7. Where is your service desk management solution? 8.9. Where is SolarWinds and PRTG? 8.16. Where is your SIM? 8.15. Where is your load balancer? Where is your firewall? 8.20. Where is SCCM? 8.19. Where is your WAF? Maybe 8.23. Where is the switch that you use for 8.21? Everybody, look at this, right? Your ALM. This is where, look at it, everywhere, all the way to this place now. What's wrong with this thing? All right, good. Look at this. Look at this. For the application developers, maybe you don't do any outsourced development. Maybe you don't. Where that is this one. That's this one that I just put in there. Right? Yeah. Trust tested. That's ALM. This one, this number 15. This number 15 that is here is 8.25 all the way to 33. Now, this change, are we talking about which one now? Let me just call it infrastructure change, or we're talking about change relative to during application, during app dev. No, that means we're talking about normal IT change versus infrastructure slash service, normal IT change. IT versus the change, hold on, change that is tied to application development. Because in the documentation, they put a lot of focus on this. A lot of people struggle here. A lot of enterprise organizations, the struggle, and the reason why the struggle is because of this number 15. For emphasis, I can put plus testing, though testing is already inside of your ALM. Most organizations, hardly do I see an organization that gives me the right sensible answers relative to number 15. And once you're struggling with 15, you're going to struggle with 25 all the way to 33. Right? And of course, I'll put this inclusive because that's also, tied to app dev. So for the developers, look at the number of core things that it's the guys who do dev in the organization that have answers to this. It's the guys who do dev that have that should give me an answer to this. 8.4 to every internally developed application, API, web service. But most people don't have an answer for this. When you call the developer does not even understand that the chief developer, the head of development, doesn't even understand that the, these 10 controls, he has to give me an answer. And that's not all. He might even have an answer for 8.24 as it applies to his dev work. He might even have an answer to 8.5 as it applies to his dev work. So if infrastructure people don't have all the answers here, infrastructure people, they don't have all the answers. Okay, good. And I think that's it. I think I have covered all the key things. All right. What I've tried to do, I spent about 2 hours yesterday. I spent another 2 hours today. I've compressed a 4-day training into 4 hours. I've compressed a 4-day training into 4 hours. I've compressed a 4-day training into 4 hours. So today, I've covered this. It's critical. How does this apply to my organization? What am I using to do this? How am I approaching this? You need to understand the standard categorically and how it applies, because the application of this thing is completely different every time I'm working with a fintech. Completely different. It's completely different when I'm working with an insurance company. It's completely different when I'm working with a traditional bank that has got its data center in one of its branches. You have to think about this. Sometimes I have an organization that has only 10 people there. The entire organization, a small fintech that just started, and they want to do this. The application of this is different for them. How you're going to think through this, how you're going to arrive at your conclusions. How should I approach this? And once again, people don't take this into consideration. You cannot use policies for these things. Right? Green is developers, everybody. So let's do network people. Let's just assume, let's just call them infrastructure for the purposes of this meeting. Let's call them infrastructure, right? For the purposes of this meeting. Those infrastructure people, do you agree? Infrastructure. I don't know where to put data masking. Should I put it for infrastructure? Let me put infrastructure here too, including Active Directory. Let's make an assumption that there are only 2 critical departments. Let me put all this under infrastructure, guys. I don't think I can put 8.8 there because that 8.8 categorically, well, I can actually, because I mean, they also do theirs. So who do we put masking under? So I'm going IT. So no, sorry, I take that back. Not IT. We just call them infrastructure and applications. So let's just assume that, right? But the software developers, this one a network guy now. This one self network guy. It'll be worth me that. This one you get as a bill as it pertains to the network, also as it pertains to app dev. You get as a bill. Anyways, who's going to own 8.34? Is IT, right? So, anyways, I'm done for today. Everybody, what's your big takeaway? What's your big takeaway? Please, can you share the attendance link? I need to share with you some test and examination link, some assessment link is probably a better way to put it. So everybody, before you go, please tell me what's your big takeaway from today. I'm done. I'm done for today. Right? Exactly. Load balancer. Yeah, yeah. Firewall. Yep, 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 yep. All right, everybody, tell me. What's your big takeaway for today? Quick, 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 everybody. Automated using GRC tools. Right, right. Well. Qualify residual risk and which metrics are the case. Ah, Nasambo, those are very difficult questions on a call like this. Well, you can reach out to me. I'm sure I'll have specific answers for you. Everybody, please. Marvel. Policies don't block bots. Right. It's the same link I'm using. I'm using the same link between today and Friday. So it's 2 Kenyan time and it is 12 noon in Nigeria. It's going to be 11 a.m. in Ghana. Right? Right. You can send me an email. Uh I'm sure I can respond. So Boma, please put my Dr. Lando email. I'm sure I can respond. Um, yes. Everybody fill the attendance. Please give me your feedback, please. That's all I'm asking for my payments. Please, I beg of you, give me feedback in the chat room, everybody. Quickly. I beg of you. Give me feedback in the chat room. I beg of you. Give me some feedback in the chat room. All right. Give me some feedback. What's your big takeaway? What have you learned from today? What have you picked up? How's today? Tomorrow we'll be doing cybersecurity. That should be interesting. Tomorrow I'll be doing cybersecurity. That should be interesting, right? Tomorrow I'll be doing cybersecurity. So that should be interesting. Everybody, please, I'm asking you, I'm begging you, give me some feedback. Give me some feedback. Give me some feedback. Let me know what's your big learning today. What have you taken out of today? What is it? I've got some very senior people here. I have Mr. Usman here. Woo, that's a big deal, right? I've got some very senior CISOs and CIOs. I've got Mr. Ohene here. Woo, right? Some of these people, to see them in their offices, you're going to need an appointment of almost 6 or 7 years before you can see them, right? I've got loads of great people here. So please, everybody, give me your feedback quickly in the chat room as we bring this to a beautiful close. Give me some feedback. All right, and please fill the attendance form. That's all I'm asking for everybody. Please give me some feedback if you don't mind. What's your takeaway as a person? What have you gotten from this session? I'll be speaking straight up for 2 hours without a break, without stopping. So, so please, yes, give me some feedback, everybody. Quickly. Good. Uh, give me some feedback. What's your big takeaway from today? Thank you very much, Musa. Uh, oh yes, well, the CISO and his team cannot go to sit down in one corner and think that they can do information security by themselves. All right. In fact, I have a slide somewhere that talks about the CISO working with. I think I have in one of my documentation. The CISO has to work with 10 different departments at the very minimum. I'll probably pull it up tomorrow. Right. So Nasambu, some of these questions are too deep for me to answer here because it will depend on your kind of organization. There are many things to meander and all that. So thank you very much, Surisha. Thank you for that. Prince, you can send me an email. Yes, thank you very much. Try to align organizations. Absolutely. Good. Can I get feedback from everybody as we bring this to a beautiful close? Femi, thank you very much. Ibrahim, thank you. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Ayomide, thank you. Obina. Policies do not block bots. They don't deny services. Policies don't apply patches on their own. All right? Policies don't block bots. They don't deny services. All right? They don't, right? Michael, thank you very much, Ibrahim. Yeah. You've got to really think about it. You can't just follow some checklists, blindly. I'll put the recording because it's not too long, so I'll put them on YouTube. So don't worry, we'll do that. Boma is going to do that. Yeah. Oh yes, I don't understand how the CISO. Thank you very much, Winnie. I don't understand how the CISO thinks they can do this without HR. Like, how are you going to do it on their behalf? Really? Like, really? Linus, thank you very much. Mr. Charles Ahene, thank you very much. Mr. Big Man Charles, right? Nicholas, we'll share it with you. Oh, so you're awake, Nicholas. You're in Canada. Well done. Well done. Well done. Enam? Yeah. Too much theory, right? Oh, yes, absolutely. People, I mean, and then because also, I mean, lecturers don't do these things, right? So there's a reason why I don't teach in a university. So I work. When I get off this call in the next 5, 10 minutes, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to get on the call with the client. So I go to work. I work. So the approach that I'm going to follow is definitely is going to be different because I work with clients every day, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Frank. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. LinkedIn professional. I don't know what is with LinkedIn and information security people. They just go and sit on LinkedIn while the organization is being hacked everywhere. The guys are giving speeches everywhere. Right? No, the people they're all on LinkedIn every day. I think if they look for accountants are not on LinkedIn, and HR people are not even on LinkedIn as much as information security people. These information security people are the number one set of people on LinkedIn, and their organizations will be struggling. I'm like, there's one organization that if you see the amount of bridges that they have, and the LinkedIn is the CISO is speaking everywhere. Right. I'm like, dude, you should take some of this your speaking time to really ensure that your organization is safe and secure. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Joy. Thank you. Right. Thank you for that. Uh, uh Jonah, okay, maybe I'll call you as one of the trainers for tomorrow so that I can sit back and just listen. All right. Thank you very much. I am with you once again. All right. I don't know any more feedbacks. Please fill the attendance form. Give me some more feedbacks. Fill the attendance form, and thank you very much for your time. We'll do cybersecurity tomorrow. We will talk extensively about cyber tomorrow. We'll have that cybersecurity conversation. Cybersecurity is a subset of information security. It's not the other way around. Most people think it's the other way around. It's not the other way around. It's good that you know that. It's good that you take that into keen consideration as it is. Right? So I'll talk about that tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we'll look at PCI DSS. We'll look at PCI DSS. We'll look at what is PCI, why does it, how does it apply, why does it apply, many things around PCI. So we'll do a lot of PCI work. And then I know a lot of people will be looking forward to privacy. So we're definitely going to do what is PII? Why should you be worried about PII? Who should be the data protection officer of the organization, the CISO, or somebody from compliance? What does GDPR say? All right, so we're going to look at some of those things we're going to look at some of those things on Friday. So it's cyber tomorrow. It is PCI on Thursday, and it is privacy. And I'm on the privacy side for everybody that is in Kenya. I'm going to focus on, because I'm seated in Kenya today, or this week actually, I'm going to focus on the Kenya data protection document. Well, I'll tell you that it's the same document, right? I'll tell you it's pretty much the same. Everybody, all the countries, right? So if you're in Kenya, meet me at Sarit Center. Everybody, I hope you can see my screen. Please take Marvin's number down. We'll start doing cybersecurity drinks. Somebody said, what about those of us that are not in Kenya? Well, today I'm in Kenya. Maybe in 2 or 3 weeks I'll be in Accra, right? So we'll do cybersecurity drinks in Accra soon, right? So we'll probably do that. But yeah, if you're in Kenya, it'll be nice. So if you're all those people that have all those very complex questions, you meet me on Friday. Marvin will be there. You can take Marvin's number down. You can talk to him. We'll have drinks on me on Friday. We'll have drinks on me on Friday, so it's not a problem for everybody that is seated here in Nairobi, as it is. So let's take Marvin's number and do your RSVP with him, please. Right? We need to know who's coming. Do your RSVP with Marvin, and we will meet on Friday. You can bring all your difficult questions. I'll share the tiny experience that I have. I'll share the tiny experience that I have with you on Friday, and I can answer your questions directly or live on Friday. So pretty much. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. It's definitely great having you all here. See you tomorrow, 12 Nigerian time, 12 noon Nigerian time. It will be 2 p.m. Ghana time, sorry, Kenya time, 11 a.m. Ghana time as it is. And we'll go through cybersecurity tomorrow. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you. See you tomorrow.